Hello everybody, this is James Thomas, and this is the third and final video in the NodeCode Getting Started series. In this video, we're going to create a NodeCode program that allows us to control an LED connected to a Raspberry Pi using only the NodeCode desktop user interface. As with the other parts of this tutorial, there's a companion walkthrough at nodecode.io. Let's get started. First, we need to wire up the Raspberry Pi that we connected in the last video. In this video, we're using a Raspberry Pi 2 Model B, but any version should work just fine. For this project, we'll need 3 wires that have a female side and a male side. I'm using a black, red, and blue for ground, positive, and the pin that we're going to control, respectively. We'll also need a small jumper and, of course, an LED. First, I'm going to wire up the power channel of the solderless breadboard with the ground and the 5-volt pins. Next, we're going to place the LED into the breadboard, making sure to note which side of the LED is longer. Next, we can connect the pin that we want to control, in this case GPIO pin 17. That is the pin that's the side closer to the camera and 6 pins from the left, to the longer side of the LED. We'll use a jumper to connect the other side of the LED with the ground. Now that we've wired up the Raspberry Pi, we can go ahead and get started creating the actual NodeCode program. In the desktop software, click on Programs in the navigation pane. Next, click on the Add Programs button. Before we forget, let's go ahead and rename the program so it doesn't get lost when we have many programs under this hub. After that, go ahead and click Save. So the next thing we need to do is to add a service onto our connected Raspberry Pi that allows us to control the pins. We can do that easily by dragging and dropping the GPIO service under Available Services to the device that we want to install it on. Once the service shows up under the device, it's been installed. Services do not start by default, so let's right-click and start the service. Now let's right-click on the same service again and go to Add Nodes. You'll notice that there's a bunch of different nodes under this service. There will be plenty of tutorials on each of the nodes, but for now we just need an on and off writer node. When you click on that node, you'll notice that it shows up under the service. Once the node is created, we can drag it onto the program canvas. Next, let's expand the Properties pane. When the Property pane is opened and you click on a node, you can edit the properties of that node. Let's change the name of this node to LED node. Next, we need to set the pin value for the node that we want to control. For this version of NodeCode, we need to look up the pin number on a chart since it doesn't correspond directly to the GPIO pin number. On this chart, pin 17, which is what I connected to the LED, shows up as 0. We can now collapse the Properties pane, and the node is all set up. Now let's create the view. Click on Views in the navigation panel, and then click on the Add View button. Click the Edit button next to the view, and let's go ahead and rename this view. When creating a view, we can drag and drop several different types of elements onto the view. In a future version of NodeCode, there'll be many more view elements. In this case, the 4 that we have here should cover the basics. Let's go ahead and add a bool view. Once we've placed the bool view element onto the canvas, we can now expand it and change some of the properties. Let's go ahead and rename this element, and then click the Input and Output option. You'll see why we selected Input and Output shortly. For now, make sure you save everything before you leave this view by clicking the check mark in the upper right-hand corner. Let's go back to the program now. You'll notice that the view that we just created is now available to drag onto the canvas. You'll notice within the view that we have the view element that we added called LED switch. On either side of the switch, you'll see that we have an input and an output. Let's connect the output of the view to the input of the LED node. The wire starts off semi-transparent orange and then turns full orange when a connection has been confirmed. Right-click on the view and click Show. You'll see that I have to drag the view onto the recording screen, but yours should pop up right in the middle of your monitor. Now go ahead and click on the switch. By flipping the switch on, you should see that your LED also turns on. You might now be wondering why we added an input to the view element. I can demonstrate the reason for this by closing the view with the LED on. Upon reopening the window, you'll see that the switch is off even though the LED is still on. To fix this, let's wire up the output of the node to the input of the view. Now when reopening the view, you'll see that the correct state is shown.